Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Community Liver Alliance, for putting on this summit. My name is Terrell Gleason. Um, I am Executive Director of Advocacy House, which is located in Greensboro, North Carolina. Backing up just a little bit, I am part of the LGBTQ plus community. I am part of the drug using community. I'm part of the hepatitis C community, and I'm part of the HIV community. And what I mean by that is, um, uh, I acquired or contracted hepatitis C from sharing needles in 1988. I was cured from hepatitis C in 2015. I acquired HIV in 1990. So, what has happened with us here in Greensboro, North Carolina? We're in a North Carolina's approximately 10 million people. We have in the Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem area, approximately a tenth of that, which is a million people. So we have a little bit of urban stuff going on. And what happened with us about 4 years ago was we acquired a safe space here in Greensboro. And so just a group of us that have HIV, we all came together. We formed a nonprofit. Do we know what we're doing? No. Do we know how to get all this funding? No. We're not clinical, we're community based. And I'm going to share how that has worked for us and meshing into our community to make some positive change. And before I do that, I'm going to consult my slide, and I'm going to refer to an article that was in the Wall Street Journal this morning. Some others have referred to the CDC information. And as of April of this year, that the prior 12 months, there have been 100,306 overdose deaths. And according to the article, that's a 29% increase. 2021 will be worse. And the article says it's being fueled by fentanyl. It says, and part of the reasons, according to the article, is that COVID, has increased the overdose problem because of isolation, complicated treatment, for complicating treatment for drug users and people in recovery, and that COVID is a draw on the public health resources. All that may be true. But what is also going on in our community with COVID that is part of the solutions and some of the things that we have done, and then I'm going to go back to where I was. We have a board of 13 people, and we are all living with HIV. We are all either current or former drug users. So we have a community link that is our niche. And so when COVID happened, well, things that we have been doing within ourselves is the first thing that the opportunity there was for people who use drugs or any other disadvantaged community was our stimulus check programs. A lot of people who use drugs, a lot of people who may be on disability programs, they didn't know how to connect with these stimulus check programs. So one thing we did was we got everybody online, we got them applying for their stimulus checks, and we got that cash flow coming to them. Some other things that COVID has brought to us that we were challenged with before were the rent, utility, and the food programs. We're making sure everybody's getting into that. People hear about it, they don't know how to do it. We'll tell you how. There was also the free transportation programs. And then two other little things that have come out of this COVID that I think have been good for us and Advocacy House and our community members are the Zoom connections and communications and telehealth. Those are being brought to the community. We're working hard to get people away from being fearful of that because it's a connection. And that is the thing that we have been working on. We all know the barriers. We all know the challenges. We all know the internal, external stigma. So what we have done with ourselves, and it started with us, with this space back in 2018, we got this dilapidated old house. A benefit factor has let us use it. The community came in and took it over. It's on a half acre. It's an old 1,000 square foot house. It's got 5 bus stops near it. It's a tenth of a mile from Interstate 40. So the community came together, and this became our safe space. We've had some overdoses within our community, and their ashes are on the ground at this safe space. We also implement healing justice. Healing justice is a form of therapy that connects one to caring for things and to connecting us to our earth and our ancestors. And one other thing about Advocacy House and our 13 board members, we're 85% VIPOC community, and we have over 300 years of lived HIV experience. And so what's going on with these community connections? We worked on connecting with ourselves. We worked on, we got to have connection. Who do we talk to? And so with these community connections, we've taken our lived experiences, whether they're lived experiences with drug use, with hepatitis C, or with HIV, STIs, or just pure discrimination. So then what we've done with our community is we worked on our language. Everybody who's been diagnosed, being treated for HIV, they know clinical language. The clinical language comes down from the CDC to the health departments, to the providers, to people who are receiving care. So what we have done with other advocacy organizations is created a community language. No, we're not infected. We have HIV. No, I'm not an addict. I use drugs. So what we've learned through community language is that brings about less internal stigma and empowerment. And so with this empowerment, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a loud mouth and everybody around me is a loud mouth. We got a lot to say. So let's take our time that we have to say that and use it most effectively. With our community connections, our lived experiences, and then learning community language, teaching it to each other. In the HIV world, and we're trying to bring this to the drug using community, we have some tools that go way back to ACT UP. And one of them is the Denver Principles. And that is where we honor ourselves and validate ourselves. Another one is MIPA. It's the meaningful involvement of people with HIV and AIDS. And another one is DEPA, the gainful involvement of people with HIV and AIDS. The drug community needs this. The drug community, using community, we need a language. We need some tools that people on the ground can hear, people in the clinical environment can hear, because this brings us together, and together as a force, we're powerful. And then those voices, once we're trained, we can educate anybody. And we really love not lobbying, but educating our political leaders. You go to talk to political leaders, and they've never met anybody that maybe has had hepatitis C or HIV or is a functional drug user. They don't know of such a thing. So moving on, because I'm running short on time. So our community connections, our lived experience with our community language, we're talking about this reducing stigma, especially internalized stigma. We've gone out, and with that, we've gone out into our communities. We love to get as a group and go in front of the Civil Rights Museum or go over to A&T University or go somewhere. And as a group, we start talking about sex and drugs. Now we're in Greensboro, has a population, we have 8 universities, and that's not counting any of the strayers and online stuff, but we have 8 universities here in Greensboro and a student population of about 50,000. So what happens is we're out there as a group, the support of a group, talking about sex and drugs, we get the community's interest because we think it's fun, and it is. So what have I missed? I'm running short on time. So the main thing we're doing here really is we're connecting with the community. We feel like a lot of these issues and challenges are people being rejected or, don't do that over here. And so we're just reconnecting. We feel like connection is the opposite of addiction. And so, yeah, that's what we've done. We've got a long way to go. but we feel really good about what we're doing. And thank you, Community Liver Alliance, for including the community conversation into this. And thank you for all of you for being part on the clinical side and being allies and helping us.